we are looking at the process used to design a schema building lesson plan. Once you understand the process, the product becomes much easier. It is a recursive process. Know that up front. Even though I'm presenting them in steps, it is very common that you go back and repeat some steps. Know that teaching cannot be reduced to an algorithm. We try to do that, thinking that we're going to get to a defined place. But teaching is an ill-structured problem, not a well-structured problem. We use heuristics, and problem solving will be the topic of another lesson. This is the bells and whistles edition, meaning it includes all the required elements of a required format. But in my opinion, the format here is really too cumbersome to be used or useful by real-life teachers in real-life teaching situations. However, I am presenting it because it is required by many. It is a schema-building lesson plan, meaning that is used to add knowledge. Schema is a file folder in your head used to organize topics. This is used to present a body of knowledge to students. Not a skill, but a body of knowledge, concepts. All right? Now, the basic essence of teaching is this. Understand this. Say a little bit, do a little bit. With younger students, you say less and do more. Older students, you say more and do less. But that is teaching, whether you're teaching kindergarten or graduate school. Present some information and create an activity to manipulate that information or to reinforce the learning somehow. Gymnasts make very hard things look easy. Circus performers, easy things look hard. As teachers, we must strive to be gymnasts, not circus performers. Circuses are for clowns. Effective teaching is defined not by what we say or do, but by how much students learn. Here is a very basic schema building lesson plan form, and this will be the topic of another lesson. But if we understand that, other parts can be added. And again, it's all about the process. This video is not about that, but it is about a more cumbersome form of a schema building lesson plan. So here are the steps. Step 1, analyze the academic standard. Break down exactly what does it say, what is required here. Many lesson plan formats require teachers to include an academic standard. But let us be clear. An academic standard defines in a general sense the knowledge and skills to be learned. A curriculum defines more specifically what should be taught and in what order and in what context. Curriculum should be designed by teachers in a school. Academic standards are defined by people outside your classroom and school who do not know you, who do not know your teaching situation, your students, their needs, their interests. Teachers should define the curriculum because they know their students and their developmental levels. Teachers have knowledge of the content knowledge, as well as pedagogical content knowledge, how best to teach a subject area, and knowledge of learners and learners, and knowledge of all curriculum, how this particular curriculum ties into what else students are learning in other curriculum. Here's an example of an academic standard taken from the Minnesota Academic Standards. I think this is for grade 2, but no, this is a very general sense of what should be taught and a suggested benchmark for how students might demonstrate their knowledge. This is general, all right? Step 2, decide what to teach. Now, the curriculum should give you a sense, a more defined sense, more specifics, but teachers often have to get more knowledge. I remember when I was teaching 2nd grade, yes, we had our curriculum, but I always had to get more information. You cannot expect any curriculum to give you all the information that you need to teach. And that meant getting books or going to the internet or whatever. So decide what exactly you want to teach. Step 3, identify a purpose statement. This is a one-sentence statement that describes exactly what you want students to learn or learn about. Now, no, even though I have this defined, I may come back and tweak that a little bit. And again, it is a recursive process, not a linear process. If you think behavioral objectives should be used, and I do not, this is where you include it. Take the purpose, put it in the form of behavior you would like to see at the end of the lesson. One sentence. However, I believe that real learning cannot be defined by or confined to a behavioral objective. But you can stop the video there and you can see the example of the behavioral objective. Step 5, identify the plan for assessment. And this describes 2 to 5 sentences that describes exactly how you will assess the behavioral objective. Not every lesson needs to be assessed. And often, assessment is teacher reflection. You are a kid watcher, watching what happens during the lesson and examining the activities and reflecting after the lesson. So I do not recommend that this be included, but some formats require this, so it is described unto you here. Activities, as I said, can also give you a sense of learning. And you see an example of that. You can stop the video. Step 6, this is the most important part. This is where you design the input. And again, I mentioned this is a recursive process. Based on the input, you're getting more information. You're organizing that. You may want to go back and redesign the purpose statement, the objective, or the assessment. So those things should always be in draft form, knowing you're going back to tweak. And then step 7, the second most important part, is the activity or independent practice. Here's where students do something with the information that you are providing. This is the place where students practice or manipulate or reinforce or apply something that you have taught during the lesson. And again, recursive. Based on what you have here, you may want to add things or redesign the input, assessment, behavior. It is recursive. You get the idea. All right? And then reflection. Here are parts that are included that could be or should be included in teacher reflection after the lesson plan. And you can stop and look at each one of those. All right. That is the process. And this was the bells and whistles edition. I'll be giving you a more stripped down version in a minute.